Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for another video at potspansandpioneers.com. What I'm going to show you today is a foolproof, this is a great wintertime soup because it knocks out a lot of colds and flus and that type of thing. So this is not a medicated soup, but it's a soup that I really believe in as far as, you know, knocking out a cold. If you go on a long trip, whether it's an airplane or whatever, and you're in a highly populated area, it's cold outside, it's cold in flu season, this is a great soup to have on your first night back from any kind of long trip. I recommend that you make this and keep it in the freezer, and whether you want to pour it in ice cubes and put it in a cup and drink it after a trip, but it has wonderful properties for knocking out a cold or whatever before it onsets. And I keep this around a lot, but I'm gonna make a fresh pot, so I'm gonna show you. And this is one of my grandmother's cold and flu soups is really what I call it, but it's chicken, basil, lemon is the top 3 ingredients in it, and then I've added some other things. So what I did was, anytime I buy chickens on sale or I find chickens at a great deal, I take a crock pot and I just cook the chicken all day, and it makes its own broth. And as you can see here, it has little fat in it. It's just 100% chicken broth. So the recipe, her recipe says to shred the chicken. Now this is cold because I've actually I've turned the stove on while I was talking, so it's going to be. But I'm gonna hand shred this chicken, and I'll do one breast, and I'll put in some broth. And this chicken cooked for about 6 hours in the crock pot. Okay. Now her recipe says 3 chicken breasts, but I always, when I have this, it's never enough chicken, so I added another chicken breast. This is just for really a small family, but if you wanted to increase the ingredients, you could make a big pot of this and freeze it up. While it was in the crock pot, I added a half a cup of fresh basil to it. So you're getting all the really great medical benefits from the basil. And then I added onions and bell pepper, a little bit of tri-pepper. Okay. And if you're in a situation where, you know, you don't think you have enough broth, you can always add water to this. As this cooks up, it'll just, you know, increase the broth. So what you're seeing in there is basil. And I use whole leaf basil. When I say a half a cup, I don't mean chopped, but you could add as much basil as your little heart desires, because you can't get enough in your system. It's really great for your stomach. Okay, so next thing's next. What I'm going to do to this is it's heating up. I've got it on about medium high. I'm going to add a shot of Creole seasoning. As y'all know, I add this to a lot of the recipes that I make. I just believe in it. When I was learning to cook, that's the first thing my grandmother would season her food with, and so it's just been something I've always done. And it doesn't make it spicy, it just has salt and pepper and garlic powder and stuff in it already. The next really great ingredient, and her recipe says a half a cup of fresh chopped dill. I'm not going to use a half a cup for this small portion because I think she meant like a big stock pot. So I'm just going to sprinkle some dill in here. And this is a new one. And I only have dry dill today. I don't have any fresh. But if you make this ahead of time, you know, and you freeze it, you might be able to grow some. Dill's very easy to grow. And the dill is just really good if you're coughing and wheezing or whatever, you've got the crud. Dill's one of the things that'll really help with the inflammation. So I'm going to sprinkle some dill in here. Now the ingredient really that kicks your butt or really makes it what I think is a real menthol, sort of makes everything feel so much better, is the next ingredient, and it's lemon. Now this is the squeeze 1 lemon, and I'm going to use a sieve so I don't get the seeds in there. Okay. And you can, I'm going to put the recipe up on my website so y'all can print it, and it's just potspansandpioneers.com. And we're going to let this come to a boil, and then we're going to add some Italian rice. And if you don't know what that is, don't stop the video. Stick around. So we'll be back. Okay, so we're coming up to a boil. I want to say a couple things about this soup. Listen, I don't want to disregard good old chicken noodle soup when you're sick, because I believe in chicken noodle soup. This is just a special soup that I think, why did I shred the chicken? That may be a question people have. I shredded the chicken because instead of cubing it up, is because when you're not feeling well, if you have a sore throat or anything like that, you don't want to irritate the throat. And so I softened up, I cooked the chicken in the crock pot to soften it up, and it's, you know, shredded so it'd be easy to swallow if you're not feeling well. Okay? So it's coming to a boil, and I'm going to add some Italian rice. And this is actually pasta, but this is what their Italians like to use as rice. It cooks in about 9 minutes, so I'm going to add a half a cup of this, and it even looks like rice. It's little tiny grains, but it's really actually pasta. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit, and I'm going to, if you get a little extra in there, don't worry. This will just add some bite to the soup. And this little box will last forever. It will just last forever. You don't need to cook that much. So we'll give it a little stir. And we'll set the timer for 9 minutes. I'm going to turn this down to medium, because it's come up to a boil. Turn it down. I make chicken noodle soup too when everybody's not feeling well, but this one just, if you're traveling, my husband's coming back from Dallas today. He's been gone 4 days. And if he's bringing anything with him, virus, cold, whatever germ is lurking in his intestine or in his throat or anything like that, this will knock it out. And if you don't believe it, I don't believe it in the comments. Just try it first when you're not feeling well, and then come back and leave me a comment. It's just a really good soup. So we'll be back after the 9 minutes when I'm going to serve it up. And the last 5 minutes of the soup, 5 or 7 minutes of the soup, I'm going to add some sliced lemon to it. And that just gives that extra punch. Now when I cooked the chicken in the crock pot, I also did garlic. I used a tablespoon of garlic in the 3 chicken breasts. I have not added any salt. You haven't seen salt come in here because I didn't add it. The lemon really is a natural sodium, and I would challenge you to taste this before you add salt to it, because the lemon really does make it plenty salty, and this would save on the sodium as well. So something to think about. This is a great camping soup to bring in a thermos, because obviously breaks it down. You could add peas to this, you could add corn to this if you wanted to. I don't want it chunky, because obviously if your throat hurts, you don't really want a bunch of chunky soup. So anyway, we'll be back when this is done with its 9 minutes, and when we serve it up. Okay, it's been 9 minutes, and as you can see, I've added my lemon slices in here. I like this Italian rice too, because it's small, right? It's not chunky, so it's going to be easy to, you know, to take in. And the broth is really to die for. All right, there it is. Tastes delicious. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope the next time you're not feeling well, or you know the flu and cold season is coming on, that you'll make this for your family and give it a shot. Give it a try. If you're not real fond of lemons or lemony flavor, you could also, I've used mandarin oranges in this as well. Any kind of citrus that's really, really strong. If you can stand pineapple, pineapple would be another great juice and bits of pineapple to add in here as well. So I hope to see you again on the next video. Everybody have a blessed week and find somebody to bless. Bye bye everybody.